We are experiencing the greatest technological and economic shift in human history. We need a way to help millions of Americans transition through this period, and a universal basic income is the best and most efficient way to do that. Hello, I'm Andrew Yang, and I'm running for president as a Democrat in 2020. I believe I have the right vision, priorities, and values to improve the lives of millions of Americans. 7 years ago, I started Venture for America to train hundreds of young entrepreneurs to build businesses in Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore, and other communities across the country. Together, we helped create thousands of jobs. But during this time, I came to realize that technology has already wiped out 4 million manufacturing jobs in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and other states. And it's about to do the same thing to people who work in retail, food service and food prep, customer service, transportation, as well as industries like insurance, accounting, medicine, and law. I saw so much over the last number of years traveling this country. What I experienced was an eye-opener to me, where I would walk through abandoned neighborhoods and boarded up businesses. I have 2 young boys, and I'm deeply concerned about the future that they're going to grow up in. If we don't change things dramatically, they're going to grow up in a country with fewer and fewer opportunities, and a handful of companies and individuals reaping the gains from new technologies, while the rest of us struggle to find opportunities and eventually lose our jobs. And it doesn't need to be that way. Under my plan, every American adult will receive $1,000 a month, free and clear, paid for by a new tax on the companies that are benefiting most from automation. If we provide a universal basic income, Americans will be able to go back to school, move for a new opportunity, start their own business, and really have their head up as they plan for the future. With your help, we can make universal basic income a reality. Join us, and let's build a new kind of economy, one that puts people first.
So universal basic income, this is what this is all about.
Yes, yeah, that's what my campaign for president is all about.
That's an interesting focus of a campaign, and very unusual. And I mean, 4 years ago, you'd never even thought that would have a chance at all.
You create this universal basic income, which is not my idea. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country, called it the citizens' dividend. Martin Luther King championed it full on the last year of his life in 1967 before he was killed. Milton Friedman and 1,000 economists signed a study saying this would be great for the economy, and it passed the House of Representatives twice under Richard Nixon in 1971. Came this close to being law. It's called a Family Assistance Plan, would have guaranteed everyone a minimum income. And the reason it didn't pass was that Democrats in the Senate wanted a higher income threshold. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where everyone in that state now gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year. And what state is that? And how do they fund it? And what is the oil of the 21st century? Technology, that's right. I've heard marijuana, I've heard a lot of things on that one. But it is technology. And now I'm going around the country saying, look, what they're doing in Alaska with oil money, we can do for everyone with technology money. As a matter of fact, we don't have a choice but to start moving this direction, because if we follow GDP and capital efficiency, we're going to follow it off a cliff, which we are doing right now. We're in the middle of it. Donald Trump is not business as usual. Donald Trump is a sign of disintegration, and the disintegration is accelerating. You can see it in any numerical measurement. Life expectancy, mental health, deaths of despair, like any measurement you want, business formation, marriage, child rearing, all of them. Historic lows, multi-decade lows, moving for a new job, multi-decade low. Pretty much any measurement of healthfulness you can find in America is at a multi-decade low or a record low right now. We are falling apart. And so this is this is an overdue move. Like, this should have happened decades ago, but here we are, it's 2019, and we have to make it happen now. So that's universal basic income. Put $1,000 a month in the hands of every American adult. Now, some of you are thinking like, ha, that sounds great, but isn't that way too much money for us to afford? Who's thinking that? Raise your hand. Anyone? No one? Wow, that'd be great. At least a few people like, hey, that's like $3 trillion. Now, what's amazing is that it gets actually very, very affordable very fast. For context, the economy is at $20 trillion, up $5 trillion in the last 12 years. So we're at like massive levels of wealth. And instead of costing $3 trillion a year, it actually costs more like $1.8 trillion because we're already spending 1.5 trillion on income support, 126 welfare programs, Social Security, and other things that end up just bringing the cost down of guaranteeing everyone $1,000 a month. So what I referenced before about this technology money, you all saw the headlines where Amazon paid 0 in taxes last year despite record profits, right? And I'm going to suggest that's not Amazon's fault, that's our fault. Like if you're Amazon's management team, you're like high-fiving, you're like, yes, another year of 0 taxes, well done, give those tax lawyers a bonus. And that's cool, that's what they should do, that's what they're supposed to do. But what we're supposed to do is say, hey, we have to have a system that you can't just freaking game that easily. We need to get the American public a slice of all of that economic innovation that's happening, because the trap we're in right now, who are going to be the big winners from AI and the rest of it? Who wins? The biggest tech companies, right? You know any promising AI that's going to buy anyway, because they're worth $1 trillion. You come up with a promising AI company, they're going to buy you for $2 billion, and then just going to tack you on. So the big winners are the Amazons and Googles and Facebooks and Ubers of the world, and they're great at not paying a whole lot of tax. And so what we have to do is we have to have a tax that they can't game their way out of. And so if you look around the world, every other advanced economy already has a value-added tax, which is very hard to game. And so if we adopted a value-added tax at even half the European level, it generates $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with current spending, all the economic growth that would happen. Imagine if you all walked out of here with an extra $1,000 a month. I dare say your local economies would be a little bigger. You'd be like, excellent. Pizza on me, or whatever it is you do later tonight. But multiply that times everyone in the economy, you get hundreds of billions in new tax revenue. You save hundreds of billions on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care. And then you also generate hundreds of billions of dollars by having a healthier, stronger, mentally healthier, more productive, more entrepreneurial, more creative population. This thing will pay for itself. This is called the trickle-up economy, from human beings, families, and communities up. What do you think? And what I'm going around telling people is that technology is the oil of the 21st century. So I know you spoke to another guest about, hey, how do you get, let's say, approximately $3 trillion a year to fund universal basic income? And the great thing is that the first thing is it's not actually $3 trillion. And the reason why it's not $3 trillion is that if you look at what we're currently doing, we're spending about $1.5 trillion right now on 126 welfare programs and Social Security. And so if you show up to someone's door and say, hey, here's a dividend of $1,000 a month, but if you're already getting more than $1,000 in stuff, we're not just going to stack it on top. We're just going to say you're guaranteed $1,000, and if you're already getting more, then this doesn't touch you. You can keep your current stuff. If you're getting $700 in food stamps and whatnot, then you can just get $300 on top. So the $3 trillion actually shrinks a lot very fast because of the fact that about half of Americans are already getting various income support from the government. So the real price tag is closer to about 1.8 trillion if you say everyone who's 18 and up. Now, for context, the entire U.S. economy is now 20 trillion, up 5 trillion in the last 12 years, and the federal budget's 4 trillion. So you're looking at 1.8 trillion. It's a lot of money, but it's actually manageable. And one of the things that I haven't heard discussed here with you is that when you put money into people's hands, the money doesn't disappear. Like if I gave you $1,000 a month, it probably would not make a big difference in the economy because it would just go into your account somewhere and nothing would happen. But we all know that right now most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 57% of Americans can't afford an unexpected $500 bill. So you put $1,000 a month into their hands, it's going to go right back into the economy. If you came here because you're worried about people, you are right to be worried. Because this economy is going to go from punitive to savage pretty quickly. The next downturn, the knives are going to come out. Like, I've been a CEO, you don't fire people when times are normal. But when times get tough, you just look around and see who's not nailed down. And even if they're nailed down, you start looking for a nail remover. So in the next downturn, it is going to be savage. And we have to get our shit together between now and then. So if we don't fight for it, none of this will happen on its own. I've been to DC, I've seen the machinery. You know what I'm talking about too. Like no one's going to do a damn thing. So we are going to have to do it for ourselves. In entrepreneurial circles, there are two mindsets. One is someone else will take care of this, and the other is I'm going to take care of it. And we all know that this is something that no one else is going to take care of.